Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here. John here. We're here for an exciting podcast. There's so much to talk about. Everything is just wonderful and glorious. We're talking about a sport we love, John, and a team we love, right? So, I mean,
yeah,
nothing could be more glorious than that.
There's so much to break down from this last game that I think this may be a 2-part episode. It's hard to say.
Look at all the notes I took. Look at all. No, ignore that.
I saw all the notes. So many notes.
No, those are just half of these are just CVSA rosters. From refereeing, but no notes.
Somebody commented like, "Oh, we should all watch the replay on Fox 5 this weekend after that." So that was good.
Oh man, only if you want pain and suffering. I have to tell stories. Like I had sort of forgotten. Like the game just got so bad. Like I had kind of forgotten, and I was like, let me check in. Let me check in on the radio feed because it was broken for a while, and then I'm listening to like the end of this radio feed at like 5-6-0. And Dave Johnson and Bruce Murray are just talking about like the most random, like what hurts more when you like stub your toe or like something. Like
it's great.
Like I kind of like just like tuned it out and I was like, what the heck are they talking about? And then they're talking, and then Bruce Murray's like I'll listen to the Fox 5 interview and they'll know the owners. Like the owners really want to win here. And I'm just like, oh my god, dude. I'm just like no.
I think Bruce was telling them to like, hey, whatever you say to us, we'll read. So if you want to text us some wild stuff about the team, we'll probably read it. So I was like, good thing I'm not on Twitter anymore because I just might.
Yeah, I wish they had a little more. I think what was it? Someone was saying, someone was tweeting. I don't know if it was in the Discords or something about like on the Washington like Commanders radio broadcast back in like the Snyder days when like they lost like 40-something to nothing or something like that. And they asked one of the guys, like, what was your play of the game? And he was like, nothing. Your play of the game has been brought to you by. Like, I wish we'd have a little more of that. Action going on. But
they are not. The problem is that they are. Is Dave still a DC United employee? I don't remember anymore. He used to be.
The broadcast is definitely produced by DC United. Like, it is a produced broadcast. They produce the broadcast. They probably license it to the radio station, whatever I forget which radio station covers it.
Me too.
But it's definitely licensed there.
Not like us podcasters who can say whatever we want whenever we want. We're not bought and paid for, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the only news sort of outside of the game is the owners continue to have interviews released. They participate in very much doublespeak of we're gonna let Sogut and Renee Weiler pick the players too. We're gonna have a hands-on approach to like this team, and it's like, well, which is it? And then they went up against
two hands off. I was 2 hands off. I cared too much. My weakness is that I cared too much.
And then they went ahead and let's talk about this. Let's talk about this Philly game, and I want to talk about it from this perspective. I don't know if we'll get into the X's and O's of everything.
No.
It is somewhat just like quite impressive that it doesn't seem to matter what players are out there on the field for either team. Doesn't seem to matter. Like, I don't know if you can do some comparisons on the lineups for these games. There is like one game a season, one game every time DC plays Philly, where Philly just goes and just beats the ever-living pants off DC. The first 2 were just like upsetting and annoying. This was just kind of like, once it became 3-0, I was like, oh, this is going to be like 5-6-0. Like, this is like our like annual like tradition of just getting the pants beat off us by Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I keep wondering, I'm like how is it? It's like this team. Like, you look across all our seasons, yeah, they're bad. There's your 3-1s, your 4-1s, your 2-0 losses, but like this team in particular just seems to just really, really not like us. And I have a theory. So if like I Philly is like, I consider them, they are like the team I talk about like DC should be.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the team that Philly used to be. Philly used to be, from an organization, ownership, everything used to be an absolute mess. Like, we remember the Rays and Bully like goalkeeper signing when they already had, I think they had their current starting goalkeeper was like on their roster at the time, and they went ahead and like the World Cup happened and they signed this goalkeeper designated player from Algeria because he had a good World Cup, and that was like the big thing. And like the question even to like the the media was like, why are you signing this? You already have these keepers who are really good. Why do you need this keeper? He's like, oh, he was in the World Cup. He was really good. That's why we signed him. So just like
Andre Blake was trying to leave at some point. I feel like that was, and then he got a new contract.
That might have been it. And also Raisin Bully was so bad that it was just like, that might have been it. But it was a very like bizarre move. It was like not a move you would want to make if you're a team that like is doing. And they used to be a mess. And then, I think Jay Sugarman, they got out. And then they had a kind of come to Jesus moment. The people were angry and they said, okay, let's focus on what we do well, which is building academy. We think we got a great academy we can build out. We can get a lot of talent to come here. We're going to that's going to be our primary focus. And like, this was not something that like happened like the next year or the next season. Like this has been a yearly long process. It has not been like a perfect process. They didn't get the Sullivan brothers overnight. It was a very deliberate process that had a lot of rough seas and continues to have rough moments. Look at what happened last season. They missed the playoffs last year. I think, I'm pretty sure they did. I know they definitely had sort of a down year.
That's why Jim Curtin is on the prowl because of that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He was let go. But when you have a solid foundation that's still there, things might, not go well for you, but then it's very easy to then quickly kind of turn those around and build those back up because you have the solid foundation. And that's what the Union have. They're going to go through, this is going to be another cycle. They're going to have some really good players. I heard Quinn Sullivan, who's been excellent for this team, apparently tore ACL in the Saturday's game. So that's extremely disappointing for him. But this is a team that is just going to have a collective of really, really good academy players. Their lowest level academy player can at least be a contributor on this team. And they have that foundation. And it's just like, it's the message of like, DC could do this. They have a same sort of like talent rich area of DC, of Northern Virginia and DC. They could coordinate with all the youth teams. They could figure out ways to be smart, to be creative, to bring players in, to, have multiple teams, like set up multiple teams literally around the area. So people didn't have to truck all the way out to Leesburg. Maybe by the time they're 17 or 16, you're like, okay, now, you're going to play on sort of our main team. They could build this like amazing trifecta of academy kids. They could build that base. The problem with it is, as we have learned from these interviews, is that Jason Levy and Steve Kaplan, they don't have the patience for that. They want to win now. And that is why this team has just been an endless cycle of rebuilds that get half done. They then blow it up, and then they have to do an excavation process to take everything out, start building it again, blow it up again, spend more time. And it's just, they have shown no energy that they're going to do this. And even now their front office moves just feel like they are just kind of flailing at sort of anything that can fix this. So that's what this game kind of feels like to me.
They're in such a hole right now that they could do it, right? The season, they're third worst team in MLS in attendance. They're about to have, I'm going to guess, their season ticket base cut by at least a third going into next year. It can't get any worse from a financial perspective next year as far as money coming in the door. You absolutely, now there's no reason not to be patient next year. Like the damage is done. So in a world where that was sort of, to your point, was like the long-term thinking, next year will be perfect for you. Like, we're just going to buckle down and get through this next year. Sort of what we said we were going to do last year. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to throw 3 DPs into the mix and try to make the playoffs from being the wooden spoon winner, probably. So the lack of cohesive plan and logic sort of just continues to frustrate us and everyone else. Let's. I want to wrap the game because the interview we have coming up is like 20 minutes. So I want to make sure we don't go too long tonight. The two, probably a couple things to notice. Jordan Farr got his first opportunity to play, and then he got completely shellacked. Bruce Murray continued to try to say these goals are not his fault, which is true. But I think that this is sort of an unfortunate. That's always going to be the number next to him for his one career MLS start.
You can say, yes, the goals are not his fault, but you can also say you can get shellacked as a keeper, and this is where like Barraza, they've had games where they've given up goals. None of them have been his fault, but he's also come out and made some truly like impressive saves to prevent things from getting worse or to actually save a goal or two. That's really what this game was all about. It was DC had the XG was right around similar as far as like expected goals.
2.13 to 2.67 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yep. And who had chances and who had opportunities. DC had chances. They had opportunities, but Philly just had that little bit of extra effort on defense. They were making slide tackles. They were getting in front of shots. And the entire defense of DC United from Lucas McNaughton, which please tell me this is it. I think this is it for him. Kai Rolls also did not, cover himself in glory either. Defensively, neither Herrera or Antley could really do anything. I mean, they were just to watch, like, I think it's either the second goal or the third goal. It was like the long range shot, and it's literally like 5 defenders around him, and nobody picks him up. Stroud doesn't pick him up. Peltola doesn't pick him up. McNaughton doesn't pick him. No one picks up the defender that just is able to just cruise, like literally waltz right into the box and gets a basically a free opportunity to score. Defensively, I mean, this was just like a complete. I think after the second or third goal, this team just was just like, we're done. Close up shop. No one get hurt. Let's just move on to the next one.
The damning quote from the post game from Christian Benteke. This came into the write up in the Washington Post. That was basically like, we had no idea what the game plan was. We didn't know if we were going to push. We didn't know if we were going to sit back. We didn't know. So I had to take it upon myself to try to communicate that to the team. So that's bad. That's not great. And Rene Weiler basically said this game proved to him a lot of the things about the mentality of this team that he already knew, confirmed things for him. So everyone is mad. Everyone's pointing fingers. Jordan Farr will probably not be able to look anybody in the face. He's probably like staring daggers at all of his defenders. Like, guys, I had this one chance and you gave no effort whatsoever. You just mailed it in, and I'm going to own this now. So thanks, because they're not going to renew my contract, and no other MLS team is going to pick me up, and that's going to be the back of my baseball card forever. Thanks.
Well, he's got a contract through next year.
Oh, well, then why was it a hurry to evaluate him then?
I think just to see what he's about, but I'm pretty sure MLS. Let me look at the cup. I thought we talked about this last time. Like, he's the only player who's not on a contract next year is Barraza.
Funny
is Barraza. So I'm going to try to find the club profiles for the summer window. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
June is definitely gone. Yep. I think that's clear. And I think I wanted to remind me before we end the show, there's a message that came in through Patreon about that I want to make sure I read. All right. We have an interview. This is the first time we've ever done this where we're trying to play an interview previously done live on the show. So I don't even know actually if the audio will come through the recording. If it doesn't, we'll put it in the audio for the download later. I think everyone on here will hear it though. But this is friend of the show. I don't know. Friend of all DC United fans. I'll introduce him now. Hopefully this works. In a RFK Refugees First, we're going to do a mid-show segment that was recorded previously. This is very live television, very TV news, which is something our guest knows a little bit about. But you will know this man if you have been either at Audi Field, at RFK Stadium, on the internet, whatever website is talking about DC United. Were you on Big Soccer? You probably were on Big Soccer too, right? Back in the day.
I actually was never on Big Soccer. I was more something awful guy at that point.
Fair enough. All right. So everywhere else the DC United is being talked about. Our friend Paul, a many-time podcast listener, famously loves podcasts, talks about how much he loves them all the time. But I wanted to have him on the show to talk about...
Long-time caller, first-time listener.
That's right. Talk about the events of last night at Audi Field, and then also just sort of get his pulse check on how things have been going. You've heard it here for quite a while, but I think Paul's got some views. Paul, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to make a little time for this, because this has just been obviously an extraordinary year, which is probably the understatement of the year, but at the same time, there have been bad years. There have been rough years. There have been years where everybody's been yelling at each other. This is new. This is a new low, but this is also a new weird. Like, everything Jason Levine adjacent obviously has gone utterly, utterly pear-shaped, down to the noir writing GM. But that's just flavor at this point. The stake now is that, as you've probably noticed if you've been coming to games probably from about July onwards, you've probably noticed a lack of drums. A lot of that has come down to the fact that we all, as a group, all the drummers at this point, which is mostly La Banda del Distrito with pieces of basically the District Ultras, like they were the parent, but the children have eaten the parent, and we are all La Banda now. Pieces of Barra Brava, there's an odd Screaming Eagle in there, I'm sure. But we all just looked at this and said, this sucks. This absolutely sucks. We have been trying to move not just like the spiritual atmosphere, but it feels like we're actually trying to move the air itself. And it's not been. There has been a disconnect in the Audi era, and it's slowly been festering and festering and festering, and it's all kind of come to a head this year because it's another bad year. Hot shit, what's new? Who cares about that? It's more that people have stopped having the will to keep going. That's new, and that's terrifying. People have been giving up. Like, our silence is a weapon, because RFK from the beginning has been the loudest, the rowdiness. It is the 1.0. It is the beta of North American support. And what we've had in 2025 is people just packing up their stuff and going home. Sometimes in the second half, sometimes they go off and get a beer and never come back. They started leaving before halftime. When we weren't even losing. That's another level of madness that I couldn't reconcile, because, as God help me, I am not just a District Ultra, I'm a true believer District Ultra. When we say 90-minute mentality, I'm the guy. I bought into that. I believe if you come in there and you start, you finish. We have rooted for some of the worst teams in league history, and this isn't even that. Believe it or not, this is not even the worst DC United. If you're new here, first of all, God help you. But if you're new here, and you think this is the worst it's ever been, it's not. But in terms of the psychic vibration of it all, this is a nadir. This is the absolute subterranean stuff. So people gave up, and they've noticed, right? Like, the ownership has noticed. And that leads to the events of the last few days where.
And I want to say, I want to chime in first. So this was so you mentioned before you got together with the drummers and said, we're gonna pull the plug here for the rest of this year for a myriad of reasons. It could be 10 different things, but that was a decision made. And this is not the first time that this has happened. Even this year, there was a no drums situation at the beginning of this year after the preseason in Saudi Arabia. And what was the result in that?
I thought, was that last year? That was 2024, right?
Time is folded up on me
in my mind, so don't feel
right. So, but all that to say, this is not unprecedented, and in fact, it bore almost instantaneous fruit when it was done, where the ownership had to come out and meet with fans and say, "Oops, I didn't know you didn't like that. I guess I won't do it anymore." So, all that to say, this is something with a track record of success, and up until this weekend, had been uniformly followed since it was sort of announced either publicly in some spaces, but also privately among the members who would know better, right?
Yes. Like, this was a leadership-wide. There wasn't like an official communique. We did not put out a press release. But leadership spoke to each other, and we spoke to our people, and our people spoke to each other. Because look, this is DC United. This is the 10th most important team in town, right? In terms of media coverage. We are not the beating heart or the pulse of this town, but we are what we are. And we are at least able to communicate to our people, look, we're done. It's over. What's the ask? The ask is sell the team. If you're not going to sell the team, that's cool. Enjoy your tomb. We did this actually, to take it further back, the Audi Field opener in 2018. We all marched to Gate A and waved and chanted and left. And I got a 1 a.m. phone call from Jason Levine himself days later asking how we fixed this. So again, our silence means something. And now the silence, it's exhaustion. The silence is frustration. And so many people inside the organization think it's all about the results. Oh, we're a bad team. Oh, we're a bad team. It's like, no, it's just, and I've used this analogy in various spaces, so I'll use it here again. It's about watching someone going through the throes of addiction, the cycle of destruction. It's a new start after a new start. It'll all be better, baby, I promise. I've got this Hernan Lozada. He's helping me clean up. He's helping me find Jesus. It's amazing. You'll see. And then you chuck him out, say he's insane, which, in fairness, he was insane. But then he's like, Rooney will make it better. And Rooney jilts us in the middle of the night to go hang out and ruin some other team in England. It's great. I mean, well, 1, 2. How many teams did he run? 3? It's been rough.
And he's left us twice, too. So he's never finished a contract for us twice. So
we have been, man, we are his jilted ex. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more depressed now. So anyway, this comes to this week. So we have members of the DC United front office asking various members, not the entire leadership of the supporter scene. In fact, only one person who would probably be referred to as a leader was invited. But most of them, honestly, they were young guys. They were kids. And they were invited out to a secret meeting where they were bought beers and said, we really need you guys. It's Noche Latina. We've got to have you guys out there. We need our drums. And a few of them said yes. A few of them said yes for the exorbitant price of free tickets to Noche Latino. And I have to say, I was mad. Let me tell you, and I need to put this out there. I should not be mad at those people. Because that is not, look, A, they're young. B, we don't talk about union organizing and union breaking tactics. That's my world. I'm a union leader. These guys are not union leaders. And I didn't think about this like a bloody organizing campaign, and neither did anyone else. But they came in and said, we need you, appealed to their emotions and offered free tickets. Okay, I get it. You took it. However, how bad is that? This might be the first MLS team that I can think of that actually had to bribe its own supporters to show up. That is a level of depressing and sadness that I lack good vocabulary for.
Yeah, I was upset. To your point, it's a good point. I think it wasn't. I think we were saying that was scab behavior. We were getting a little upset about it in the Discord, and it did bother me. It bothered me because what had been done before had been successful, and to remain successful, you need to keep your unified front. And I don't know, maybe it was a lack of messaging on our part to make sure. I don't say our part. This is your
you're
world
part of this
much
too,
more
dude.
than mine.
You're part of the scene. You're part of the ecosystem, dude. You are absolutely. We all get to own our tiny little piece. It's like the Green Bay Packers, man. You're a part of it.
So I think maybe we could have done a better job explaining why this was going on, and also maybe even say they may come to you. They're going to be desperate. They may come to you and say, "Please help us out," and here's why you shouldn't. Maybe that was it could have been done. But I think if we had to rank order,
there was at least one leader that was there and said, guys, maybe this is a terrible idea. And then they did it anyway. But again, the worst part of it all is that they still left at halftime anyway because it was a Philly game. Why would you want your triumphant return, the annual virgin sacrifice game? Look, 6-0. What's new? Was it this year? Was it 2022? Which 6-0 are you talking about? They left before halftime. Your bribe made everyone look stupid. Your front office looks stupid now because now you've bribed your supporters and it didn't work. The supporters look bad because you have dissension within the ranks. The fans look bad because, my God, we thought we had our thing back and they're gone. Why are they gone? Everything's gone. It's just depression after depression after depression. What do you say at this point? We've got 2 more games and there's still probably some way for us to look more pants on head crazy as an organization and a community. And I don't know what it can possibly be because I didn't have Amazon ebook general manager in my bingo card. What do you say?
We keep drilling down to find new floors. So that's something. I don't want to take too much more of your time up, but the
the thing that people have been asking me that have been short-time fans and even some longer-time ones is trying to rank order, and you kind of got into this, how bad it is now versus how bad it's been. And the performance on the field is in fact bad, and historically so. And we've been out of the playoffs now for 6 years, and we're probably gonna get the wooden spoon again after, a restart of the new plan where we're gonna get out of the basement, we're gonna pay our taxes, we're gonna get back to zero or even at least. And now that's not even gonna happen. But I think for me, like, why is this so bad? And for me, there's always been the promise of a future. We've always had something like right around the bend where we could look for it and say, as soon as we do that, then we'll get back to where we're supposed to be. It'll be a new stadium. It'll be, okay, we got that. It'll be, we're going to have greater investments in DPs. Okay, well, we kind of did that. We kind of didn't do that. All right, well, the old coach was bad. We needed a new GM with a new vision and a new coach. Okay, we're going to do that. Okay, that didn't work out. You continue to have the sort of the trapdoor pulled on you, and it creates a serious sense of distrust and also disinvestment, because this is something that we all give to varying degrees, our time, our money, our blood, our sweat, our tears, our attention to. And the payback is only that you want it at least nearly as bad as I want it. That's what makes you do it. And also the community that you get from it. Because
that's
that part,
the big one.
But because that part is the hole is in that bucket of you want it as bad as I want it. It's easy for the community to start to fade away, because there's going to be people that are in it for each other. And then there's people that are in it because they care for whatever reason they care for it. And the community part is good, but it's not their animus. But it just feels so much worse to me because there's nothing around the corner that I believe. The community that was there feels gone. And it feels, I mean, part of that is age and like change, and that happens, but like, it just feels substantively different and worse. And I have no trust. I have no trust built up with any of the stakeholders here that are going to tell me that things are going to be better. That's why I feel it feels worse than it ever has before.
No, that nails a lot of it, because what we lost what better time to talk about this on something called RFK Refugees? We're missing the Lot 8 connection. We're missing the community building, because every group was next to each other. Barra Brava next to Screaming Eagles, Echapanza in the corner, the Ultras by the trees, everyone else in the middle, mingling and intermingling and meeting each other and finding common cause. Ever since we moved to Audi Field, you have the Eagles off in their corner with their special spot in the conservation hall or whatever on earth it's called, the place with the bathroom. Water Street has been where a lot of the Barra Ultras La Banda became a thing, which is basically, it used to be between a concrete plant and a gay strip club. Now it's a concrete plant that we rent from the owner while gentrification happens around us. And it's shrinking and it's shrinking and it's shrinking because we are more and more invisible, and less people keep coming. And not only does the tailgate play that out, the attendance plays that out. We're on average 2,000 people less this year from last year, and it's fixing to get worse because these prices are not going down. This city is not becoming more hospitable. The people you want to bring the energy have every possibility of getting nabbed by ICE for just hanging out and eating a papusa in the yard. Like, what's the drive? And the drive is the community. Like, for me, and I've always said this, is that I am trying to forgive the woo here, but I'm trying to generate spiritual experiences, because I think drumming and singing and dancing for a common cause, even if that common cause is even a mediocre American soccer team, you can induce amazing things. You build things, because this is practice. This is practice for the big stuff that's going on all around us right now. And that's gone too. There's so few things tying this. Like, yes, you could absolutely claim that we all just want to be 27 years old again. Clearly, I'm not. However, it's nothing that can't be reclaimed with the energy, and the will just isn't there. The people aren't singing. The people don't want to sing. The people don't want to learn the songs. People say, oh, sing the 4 songs we all know. And then we do them, and they don't sing those either. So there is it's the miasma. It's the pure, I don't know, we got to put Zoloft in the Modelo that you're throwing at me every goal. I don't know what you do. I'm not the guy who knows the answers on how to fix it. All I know is that this is irreparably broken. Something
that's
new has to come from the ashes.
Yep. A great place to leave it. It's broken. We don't know how to fix it. So we need something new.
Now that
We've
you're
talked
cheerful,
about it.
see you next week.
Right. You and I have talked about it before. It does all come down to Lot 8. I think this podcast exists because of Lot 8. My commitment to this team in general, but also to doing this, it all comes down to the people I met, the relationships I made, I'm a fan of lots of sports, but it's a sort of a hackneyed thing to talk about the difference between a fan and a supporter. But I think it's legitimate. Like, I'm a fan of the Nationals. I'm a supporter of DC United. I always felt like, and the way that you felt at RFK, to be an old person, is you didn't just feel like a customer because it was such a shitty stadium and everything was like, I could go anywhere and get something better, but it was like you felt like you were a part of a community that's like, we're going to all meet here and do this thing where what it is doesn't really matter. It could be anywhere, but we're all coming to this place to do this thing together. And that was powerful. Like, I had never felt that before at anything in my life. I've never been in a union before. I've worked like whatever jobs or whatever, but to even have that sort of like common shared purpose where, you know that the big money's not coming in, the glory days probably aren't that close anymore, but we still have each other. And that makes all of this worth it. And that makes going to Super League on a Tuesday with 5,000 of your best friends worth it. So that's gone. It has to be replaced with something. I don't know what it is. We still haven't figured it out. It's not going to be the team run thing that they did this weekend. That won't be it. But in order to get even a piece of what we had, something like you said, that it acts as like the central gravity point of building community. You have to have something to orbit around, and it has to be this thing that someone sees and says, I want to be a part of that. I want to do that. I want to organize my life around this thing. I want to go on road trips to go watch them get beat 7-0 up in Philly. That's what you need. And if you don't have that, you're just a customer again. You're not, that's all there is left. So on that wonderful note, Paul, PK, thank you for joining me. I've always kind of wanted you to come on. I thought this was a good timing. And we always say, where can people find you? All over the internet, but you're on Blue Sky, at least I know that, on the Discord.
I mean, at the end of the day, just if you ask around, where's PK, someone will pass you my phone number, my email. Just throw a rock with a note on it saying, why are you so loud? It'll go through the window. I'll read it in a day. It's fine. Dude, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being there.
So I have to insert it later. Sorry, live crew.
I was like, I can't hear anything. By the way, Jordan Farr, contract through 2026 with an option for 2027. So he is here next year and under contract. And that's kind of the biggest thing about a lot of these players is you're talking about the evaluation. You talked about how apparently it confirmed some things. I'm like, buddy, I don't know how to tell you. I don't know. Like, there are a lot of players. They're going to have to take some significant losses on several of these players. I mean, there are going to be players that whatever you paid for them is probably not what you're going to get out of the door. Borsey now, we'll assume Aaron Herrera is here. He's not the problem. Joao Peglo, Matty Peltola, Cairo. I mean, if you are looking to clear house, have a fire sale, the ownership is going to have to be okay with taking some significant losses. And what we've seen in the past, if we think about 2024, was they did none of that. They kept all the players. They did not like fire sell anything or push anything out or create something different or something new. So yeah, I legitimately do not know what they are going to what they're going to do here. It really doesn't seem very good. So
questions.
Let's run them. Let's go through them. Pretty Fish says, do you think we will end up with the wooden spoon? We are on 1 point ahead of Galaxy, but they have a game in hand. I'll tell you what. Yeah. I think there could be a wooden spoon. The potential like championship for the wooden spoon could be on decision day between DC United and Atlanta. At the very least, it'll probably be like a decision day for like bottom who finishes bottom of the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm. The worst decision. I think
decision day. Worst decision day. Bear Witness says, I know Pablo reported that our entire scouting department has been fired. How significant is that? How have other teams overhauled their scouting department like this and found success? I don't know if like I can't think about other teams, I guess, that have overhauled their scouting department and found success. I will tell you, if you're somebody who's looking for a job, you're either really desperate to go work for DC and you have zero options. Because if you have options, why would you come here? Why you already had a GM hired, and he brought a whole scouting department with him, and essentially, and then only to have a year later all those people looking for jobs. I don't know who would want to come here.
I don't think it's a big deal because I don't think we've found any gems with our scouting department really to be really super excited about. So I think that I'm okay with starting fresh. Like Ted said, it will be a hard sell to someone to pick up sticks and move here, knowing how quickly things turn. Mm-hmm. That's kind of not super uncommon. If you're a Chelsea manager, you'd certainly make sense to rent and not buy. But yeah, I think I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned about the person who will be building a scouting department, having never built one before, or any other sort of things required around management. But that's okay. That's all right. We'll figure it out. We're not the biggest of our problems, but certainly not the smallest. Todd says 4 cups, 4 wooden spoons. I just thought it would be cool if we got, we have the 4 stars, and underneath the badge we could have 4 spoons. I think it would look pretty cool. So if someone wants to get their Cree cut set up, we could iron it on, make it look real cool.
Yep.
Next,
Rob HG says, "What is a reasonable goal for 2026?"
I'm gonna go there. You know how like everyone knows, and it's even a meme. Like when you're at a factory, they've got the days since injury countdown board. I'm gonna go a full 365 days of no embarrassment. If they could achieve that, if they could achieve a full year where none of us are like, I am embarrassed to be a supporter of this club. That would be. I mean, aside from like anything that is like lingering from now, but like new things, like a new article from The Athletic that says they are once again having staff be security guards, things like that. Like no embarrassing things. That's my goal. What about you?
Yeah, I mean the on the field thing would say 9th place, like sneaking into that play-in game last day of the season. Honestly, maybe like realistic goal might be like, let's make it through September, October before we're eliminated from the playoffs. Honestly, that may be nice. a realistic goal. Rob also says, given Levian's inability to stop his passion to help from becoming meddling, what is the best that could be expected in the next 2 to 6 years? And finally, what is the soonest one might reasonably expect a change in ownership? 6 years, 12, 20? I don't know. I keep going back to this whole interview, and the one thing that maybe gives me some hope is that maybe they are just looking to just get this team in good enough shape to where maybe they are looking for like a major investor to come down the line. Maybe again, they're doing all this stuff in Baltimore. If that falls apart, maybe they're just like, you know what, we're done with this. Let's cash out. We got the money. I don't know. Winds can change, things can change. Economic situations are pretty, tumultuous. If I would again always be concerned. I'm always concerned about who's going to come and own this team. And we have the Saudis out here buying EA Sports for like $50 billion. Your favorite things are getting swallowed up by the investment fund there. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your what's the best we could hope for in the next 2 to 6 years? And do you see any change in ownership?
You could absolutely blind fire signing players and stumble into a team that's decent. It could happen. I mean, it's not like every MLS GM is a genius, like a football genius of all times. That's not necessarily the case. It could happen. So the best case scenario is we create a team that is competitive. To just get in the playoffs. I think that would be probably our best case scenario. As far as like selling the team, I think you would need to have a bad year next year off field. You'd have to have season ticket renewals at 50% for next year. I think you would need to see bottom, or I would say probably they're not going to go any lower than they are in the attendance rankings. It's kind of stuck there. But maybe it will go lower with those season ticket holder things. And then continued sort of errors on the field. 3 DPs as promised, none of them pan out. And they've cycle coaches again. They fire somebody else. I think at a certain point, what you want to do with an asset is sell it when it's at its peak. I think that they know that they're so far from that. It might just be they're still way up on their investment.
Yeah.
So I think if this continues for 2 years, it's possible they might say, let's give somebody else a hack at this and we'll go do something else.
Yeah. I mean, you never would have thought they would have maybe sold their stake in Swansea, and there was enough turmoil, enough people being upset about that they said, we're done.
Yep. Why would this be different?
Yeah. Obviously the difference is they own that stadium. There's a lot of investment in it and everything like
right. That just means more when they cash out.
Exactly. So we'll see. I think also it's reasonable to expect they, luck themselves in. I mean, right now, if you really think about this team, I mean, they are just cycling through gambling, and they're gambling. It's just like, let's roll the dice on this one. Let's roll the dice on this one. And then there are chances that they might, luck into a Rooney Acosta type deal and things look unbelievably better. They ride something for a couple weeks. They make a run to the playoffs. Maybe they make like a second or third round. As far as like, is this team, do I think in the 2 to 6 years this team is going to be a championship contender with the centership? Absolutely not. I think the best you can hope for is sneaking into that 8-9 playoff spot. Also, like, things can change as far as the shifting winds. I think the biggest thing about right now about the Eastern Conference that is so incredibly tough. The Western Conference is far softer. And but those things can change extremely quickly and can shift. Miami, I think it's pretty clear, like even around everyone, that like Miami is literally just held up by Messi. As soon as Messi leaves and like all that talent leaves, that team is going to just like completely self implode. As Matthias Klick apparently says, like how messy things are down there. I don't know if you saw that interview he gave.
I did. Don't go there because his dad runs a team.
Fair enough. Prior to this is from Ryo77. Prior to the Audi Stadium deal, how real was the fear DC would lose his MLS team to another city? Does this suggest recency bias to those who think it's never been worse for DC United fans?
I answered this in the Discord and basically said that at the time it was a very real threat that they were going to go. St. Louis was one of the teams that was cities that was very tied to this team. Don Garber said as much. He said the stadium situation is untenable. It wasn't about performance; it was about the stadiums, which is always what it's about. It's can we bilk a city for money, and then we'll take it, and then you're fine. So it was real, and I remember being really concerned about it. Like I don't know what I'll do if this goes away, because it meant so much to me at the time. And like I said on Discord, if you were to tell me that today, I'd be like, all right, well, I guess you got to do what you got to do. I understand. And hope for sort of the Columbus situation where Columbus goes to Austin and the MLS just auto renews and gives them a new owner and a new stadium, I think too. So yeah, it was a real threat. There's not a recency bias, and we've talked about it 100 million times. For me, the issue here is there's no like coming soon thing that will make everything better, like there always has been as a DC United fan. There's always been like, well, this is when we'll spend and we'll get the stadium and we've got Rooney. We're going to build on Rooney. All right, we got a new coach that's got a lot of new ideas and we're going to give him time. All right, well, we've got another new coach who's got new ideas and a GM and we're going to give him time. All right, we've got a new coach that's very experienced and very expensive and he's undefeated. Well, we got a GM that's never done this job before, but he's very smart. So there's no card left to play. There's nothing that you can hold your hat on. Like, all right, well, we just got to get through this one thing and then we'll be better. Things might get better, but this time it's not due to we're not coming up on something. If we do better, we just found money. Basically. Yeah,
I mean, if you point to one thing, Jackson Hopkins is kind of the one silver lining, and I said in the one tweet I had there, I said it showed. And I wonder if maybe that was part of Rennie's like confirmation, because if you watch games when Jackson Hopkins is out there. He is kind of everywhere as far as the front press. Philly bypassed the entire midfield. And I think his energy was very sorely missed in these games. I mean, if you talk about one sort of silver lining moving forward, it might be Jackson Hopkins starting to grow some wings and actually start to take off to where he might be something interesting to watch looking into next year. But that's like that's like the barest of silver linings. I mean, we think about years in the past when we've kind of had, even in 2024, it was like, all right, well, hey, 2024 had some fun moments. Like, there were some moments that you could maybe build upon. They came very, very close to making the playoffs. Like, let's really use this, then we're going to get a ton of cap space is going to be cleared up. We thought at the time they'd have 2 DP slots with Matthias Klick, and then we found out about the whole, like, really it was like the auto. Once we found out about the auto renewal, it was just like, man, dude, this is like stuff just dragging everything down. As far as, you're completely right about the threat was extremely real. I think the fact that the team had really built itself, I think the championships, the 90s, everything they won at that time period, the sort of standard that they had there at built sort of for DC United ultimately saved the club, because I think, and we talk about there are plenty of clubs that go away, but MLS really had to sort of hold on. I do think about if they had jumped ship for St. Louis or they jumped ship for Baltimore, I think Baltimore would have made it a little less likely, but if they jumped for St. Louis, you would have had to think that like DC would be like the prime expansion type slot. Maybe we would have had a stadium out in Leesburg or somewhere in Maryland or something. We wouldn't have had the stadium right in we wouldn't have had Audi Field. But like I do think, like, I do have to believe that a team would eventually return. I maybe would have been part of the Commanders owners who's really to know. I think really the DC United and Audi Field and all that is what is really actually now boosting the Spirit, because the Spirit having a home that they can go to in DC, but before, like, I don't know what they would have done.
I also don't think, barring a miracle on the field, I don't think that there's a way to ever regain even the foothold this team had in the community as far as exposure without a team going away and coming back. It's like a brand refresh. It's like how in minor league baseball, they tell you to change your team name every 3 years, because that will make people remember you exist. It will make people buy stuff. And if you don't do that, they just never think about you again. And that's sort of kind of in the spot we're in now. They would have to just they would have to win an MLS Cup to register at all. I think it's my opinion anyway.
Even then, I don't think the people that, I became at least minor, acquaintances with or friends with, the people who I basically grew up with as I went on the team, all those people are gone. They're not coming back. Yeah. I think this team could go out and win 3 to 4 MLS Cups, and you're not going to have those people come back.
It'll have to be new people. We talked about that in the interview that you'll now hear before this when I've clipped it in. But sort of talked about the fact that like the community has to regrow from the concrete. We had Lot 8 as an accelerant, and now we don't, and all those people are gone. They're either old and they've moved on with life, or they've moved on because this team has been garbage since they've come here, and there's just no reason to spend, except for us who are dumb. But everybody else is smart.
Who hosts the podcast? All right, go to Blue Sky. Hoist says, "Are we going to win in a wooden spoon or not?" I'm ready to hoist another. I feel like this team is gonna they're gonna find a way to like not win the wooden spoon, and therefore not get like the top draft pick, which is like the only pick that really gets you like a quality player. I feel
the booby prize.
Yeah. I feel like they're just gonna find a way not be as bad as LA or Atlanta. Like they're gonna win the last game and literally lose out on the quote unquote number 1 draft pick. There's no expansion team, so they would have the number 1 draft pick. Sabatis says, "What are the top 3 things you did this summer that didn't involve DC United?" I bought a house. That's what I did.
That's a big one. Ted wins. I didn't do anything remotely cool this summer that even competes.
No one else thinks I won by buying a house in 2025. Let me tell you. But
well, listen, you've got. I mean, they're not wrong, Ted. But You now have roots. You've got some roots somewhere, and I'm happy about that. And I'm happy it's in Richmond too.
Yes, very happy about that. Let's see. Some Kickers games were fun in the beginning of the season. That was fun. Yeah, returning to Richmond and kind of fully investing I returned 2024, but it kind of like getting those roots in Richmond was pretty good. But
all right, I got a question from Patreon here. Before June becomes a punchline, this is from Fred. Before June becomes a punchline or an easy reference for Levian stage Kaplanitism, which I love, and I think we should start using that. Is there an argument to say the club really screwed up his development? Pulled after a disaster in San Jose, in which the backline was in shambles, Barraza also had a few big loss games and was back to continue. He comes back in for the Cups and is serviceable, then has one start under Rene, where he had a bad play, where he froze and then was completely frozen out. Grading on a curve based on age, but also looking at potential, is it a stretch to think that the club really messed up his development and in turn trashed the potential of a value-added asset? Just feels like he got a raw deal. As always, thank you for your suffering. I don't know how you all keep doing this. If it weren't for this pod community, I would have stopped caring completely a long time ago, so thanks, I guess. By the way, the amount of people who tell us, it's maybe my favorite compliment. Like, I really stopped giving a shit about this team entirely and didn't even follow them. And then the podcast came around and you guys are giving me a reason to continue to watch, even though they're horrible. So as I tell everyone, thank you. And I'm sorry. I appreciate it, but also I'm sorry. What do we think? I think that it is certainly clear it was either a massive, to me, it's two possibilities. It was either a massive error in scouting, and actually he really stinks, and he's never going to go anywhere, develop anywhere. Or I don't know if they messed up his development, but were not good stewards of their investment regardless. They spent this money, they propped this player up, and then they didn't do anything in which to grow that confidence. They didn't loan him out. They didn't continue to give him more chances. Barraza obviously outplayed him. I don't think that's really a surprise. An MLS, guy who has started in MLS before, and then a young kid. But you brought him in and said this guy is legit and ready to start from week one. And then you said, whoops, maybe not, and then just cut his legs out from him. So I think that's valid to say that they screwed up. They could have screwed up his development, but they definitely screwed up their investment on this because he's not going to start next year. So they're going to have to take their losses. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they, I kind of like a little bit, I guess, the creativity of grabbing sort of a young talent in goal where he won't count so much against the cap, but you can basically spend whatever you want. I think in a 2-4, the 2-4 U22 system, by the way, still waiting for an answer as to what that whole situation is and when you can do that. I think I have my answer, but I'm waiting for sort of some official word. I'll probably never get that answer. But anyway, but the idea of having him as it was, maybe I was for it as like, well, this is like a different sort of tactic. A lot of people in the national media were like, this really doesn't make much sense. I don't think we've seen a U22 goalkeeper go out. Goalkeeper is a really tough field, and you have to look at, honestly, like, look at Bill Hamid. That guy made some great saves, had some good moments, and then also had some just real, like, just boneheaded, like, just decisions about coming out. It really wasn't until I'd say about year 4 or 5 that he really developed. And goalkeepers are weird. Like, people look at Barraza and say, oh, he's 28. And I'm like, 28's young for a goalie. Like, it really is. And 22 is like a 16, 17-year-old out there on the field. If you really think about it, it's an extremely, like, tough and weird position. I think it was, from what I gathered, I think there was a Korean player, I think, that signed for Minnesota. And I think DC was chasing him as kind of he's a good player, but we need to give some sort of, like, someone he can talk to on the team. I think I kind of wonder, like, I think they maybe should have gotten that deal across the line and then maybe done this one. If they didn't get it, maybe they would move on, because, I mean, it's tough to assimilate in a country that you don't know the language and you don't have a commonality of player. I mean, we look at, what Pirani being here and having Pedro Santos, who's obviously Portugal but speaks the same language of Portuguese. I think that is a crucial element, particularly with younger players, is having somebody that they can communicate with in sort of their natural language, who can, tell them certain spots to go to. And I think that I would not be surprised if that sort of played into the role, especially when you're struggling.
Yeah.
And there isn't really anyone else other than the interpreter who knows how long they paid for that. They had that in there. I would hope they still have somebody in there for him to communicate. But
I think they probably do.
Knows? Yeah.
Pirani's an instructive example too, because he is a much different player than he was when he started. He's much more confident on the field. He's more expressive. He's doing better. There's you got to keep him, by the way. At this point, look at the rest of the team. We got enough holes. You can keep him. You can figure out a way to make him useful.
Yep. And he's still going to be on that U22 roster slot. Brendan Zabron said, would this season be any different if we kept Ted, Click, or Matai? Matai, no. Matai would have been the same. Click, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. You're shaking your head. That well, how do we think? You don't think the season? You don't think maybe they would have you think they would have been maybe out of the wooden spoon if they had Matthias Click out there in the field? Maybe we're not talking playoffs, but we're talking maybe they're.
So if you swapped out Brendan Cervania basically for every game which Cervania pit, I think it would be a couple points better. I think we'd still be very much in the fight of the spoon.
Yeah.
Obviously, he couldn't get minutes in Atlanta, who is a team just marginally better than we are this year. He's now playing for the team which he started in Krakow in Poland. Not really running very hard, by the way. I watched a little bit of him this weekend. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. And I think Ted Pietro hasn't really let it on fire for Columbus or for Colorado either. He's not an every game starter. I don't know. I think that we would be marginally better, but we would certainly, I think, be in a very similar. I think the coach still would have been fired, for instance. I think it's
very possible. I think it's clear this team wanted to elevate and they did not elevate. Ted, with regards to Ted, I still have this feeling that if he were here, he would at least still be happy, possibly. And I'm always of this opinion. It's for me, it's there are players that. Every single player at this level is has the potential to be good. Every single player playing on a top level professional team has an opportunity to be good. It's just a matter of how happy they are sometimes, particularly with players who have recognizable talent like Teku Pietro, Gabriel Pirani. To me, it's all about how happy they will be. Matai's the only one I'm I think Matai would have been on the bench. He would have either been loaned out to Chattanooga or somewhere else. By the way, still have no idea the MLS Next Pro team announcement that was supposed to happen.
48 hours ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
Still nothing there.
Matai also is not even playing for the under-21s right now for Bournemouth. So tough play there. I think this is I always worry about the 18-year-old jump to Europe, about the longevity of career. Obviously, you get a payday up front, but maybe you can always fall backwards, right? You can always Caden Clark it. You can always fall backwards into MLS.
The jump to Premier League level to me is always the most concerning, particularly for an 18-year-old. Because you talk about Griffin Yao made the jump to a
very small team in Belgium.
They paid $500,000 for, but for them that was a big expense. So they've made a lot of investment. Bournemouth is not a big level Premier League club, but $2.5 million is literally a tax write off for them as far as a player acquisition.
They sold a jersey for me and a couple other people, and it was worth it for them.
Yeah, basically. And even then, if they didn't make money back, they're not gonna of the 200 million, $300, $400 million they get every year for being in the Premier League for the TV deals and the ever-growing TV rights. It was literally a drop in the bucket for them. Not that they don't want him to be successful and maybe are looking for opportunities to make him successful, but then it's kind of all right, you're here, buddy. Now you got to show us, you got to prove to us. Where if they're spending 10, 11, $12 million, then maybe they care a little bit more. That's why I would have been for Matai going to maybe a German club or somewhere else, that's maybe a little smaller, where like the $2 million or $3 million or however much they spent, maybe would have been a little more useful, let's say. Brendan Cartwright, you asked a bunch of questions, buddy. We're sorry, we're going to go with one. We're going to go with one from you. Let's say D United does sign some amazing attacking talent in the offseason. It can be a 10, a winger, a striker, whatever. Who, in your opinion, might be the current player to benefit the most? Benteke, Pirani, Peglo, Stroud, Hopkins, Barraza. I think we've all been wondering, like, I think people are kind of assuming like Benteke's back after the press conference. Like, do you think Benteke is coming back? You think he's done?
I think he's done. I think that was a subtle farewell, saying these jokers in this con car. I want out. I want off of this.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying myself right now. Who's the current player who might benefit from, say, a number 10? I'm gonna say Pirani. Pirani would benefit from a high level number 10 if he's here next year.
It takes the pressure off him to do what he can't do, and allows him to be a second striker. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And again, I mean, we talk about the stats, his passing, he is not setting up like these like incredible through balls that like set up goals and opportunities, but his numbers as far as like creating shot opportunities and getting expected assists have gotten better. So if you surround him with a number 10, take some of the attention off of him, maybe he's a player who elevates. Peglo, I think, could also elevate. With a player
Peglo's really got to make a step up for me. He started off so hot, and I have been relatively unimpressed with almost every appearance. I mean, he's been fine. He's been very fine, but this team needs him to be way better than just fine.
Well, and again, this is a player. I think there are all these players that they have on this team, and I'm like, they need that sort of talent elevator, that player that just like makes everyone around them better. Because DC really hasn't had that since Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney is the gold standard. You would hear other players talk about how much harder they tried in training because they were playing with him. That's why you do it. That's why you sign the superstar. That's really why ticket sales are great. It's to make all of the players give an extra 5% every single day because they don't want to be embarrassed by one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. And to me, it's really, I think this was a game. I think when you hear Renee talking about the game they just had, to me, it's like, he's like, yeah, I've learned some things. I think it was like, show me some effort. He's like, now we got some adversity. We're down 1-2, 3-0. What am I going to see? And he just saw the team completely fold. And he was like, you know what? And maybe this was also a test to be like, hey, I'm not going to, I'm not really going to game plan for this. I want you guys to maybe see who can figure it out. Stroud, I think Stroud's gone next year. I think what is his contract situation? He's through next year as well. So many players, man. The players that literally of the main senior roster that do not have contracts for next year are Caden Clark, probably going to get his option exercised. Pirani, let's assume his option is exercised. And then you've got Connor Antley, hit or miss. Again, Connor Antley, Luis Barraza, Derek Dotson, Randall Leal, Lucas McNaughton. Everyone else is, and this is again with this team, man. I think we've talked about this before, so I think I'll stop. But yeah, it's I don't know. You're going to have to take some losses on some sales. I don't know anywhere else. All right. That does it for questions.
You're going to have, once I splice this interview in, you're going to have an hour-long show after a 6-0 beatdown. So cool. If you guys can all make it through that, you get a gold star at the end. Please let us know that you did it and you get the gold star.
All right, folks, that's going to do it. We will not be on next week. I am going to be out of town. And then, of course, there's the lovely international break. So we're going to maybe...
until you see us.
Go away from radio feeds. Maybe there'll be some interesting news. Unless, of course, we get maybe during the international break, we'll have an interview with the front office. Who knows?
And after those 2 weeks, it'll be the end of the season. So that will be the capstone show of the 2025 MLS season for DC United.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes. Get a little break. We can go watch Spirit, who are continuing to crush it 4-0 win over Houston Dash. Someone asked.
Welcome back, Anna Helferty.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.